As the COVID-19 pandemic persists, most of us are wondering how are people getting by and who is assisting those in dire need of even the basic of needs. Who do we turn to for help? So how then can you make a difference? How do you make this period easier for those in distress? We'll be speaking to individuals who are answering these questions through their actions by making a positive impact among the vulnerable people. Welcome to Frontline. My name is Lincoln Ombogo. We wear the shoes of those who respond to disasters, and regardless the situation, they are swift to come to the rescue. These are volunteers who aim at making a difference in their societies and have been in the front line.
It is morning when the alarm clock beeps the start of the normal day of a volunteer. Here's Aisha Said Ibrahim, a volunteer and a sign language interpreter who resides in Kibra, and her task is to engage the vulnerable in the society on the impact of COVID-19 on their daily lives.
What we've been doing is demystifying the misconception, giving them the correct information, showing them how to wash their hands and all possible ways in how they can protect themselves.
Before the volunteers go out to the community, their team leaders, who are technical people in the field, gives them a brief of what is expected and ensure that each volunteer has the set required tools to enable them to accomplish their set goals. Stationed from the most disaster-prone areas in the country, including northeastern and Baringo sides, volunteers remain the strongest pillars of the Kenya Red Cross Society. As of 2020, the number of volunteers of the Kenya Red Cross Society of Kenya stood at approximately 200,000, many of them being young people, making it the largest volunteer-involving organization in Kenya and one of the national societies with a large number of volunteers globally. Volunteers are the lifeline of major responses in the country, and they are one of the most important pillars of any society, helping you make sense of crisis. Daniel Kariuki for Switch TV News.
Now, volunteers play a critical role in the lifeline of responses. We are joined by two volunteers, Stacey Peke and Abdulaziz Kioko, volunteers from the Kenya Red Cross, as they share their experiences on the front line. Thank you for creating time. How did you become a volunteer, Stacey?
Well, actually became a volunteer when I was still in university, and it was through one of the youth activities that a club in the school for Kenya Red Cross had organized. So during that event, it was a youth camp. During the event, when we'll sit around the bonfires and people are exchanging stories of what they've been able to do in their community, things they've been able to succeed at achieving, it kind of piqued my interest to know more, okay, it's not all about just fun and games, what more does Red Cross do? So with that, I started engaging with the branches, and with that, I became more involved as a volunteer.
In university, what did you study?
I studied natural resource management.
Does it have any links to what you're doing now?
To some extent, yes, it does, because you find some of the activities we have are concerned with climate change and adaptation. So you find most of our activities are centered around community cleanups, educating and raising awareness on proper household waste management techniques, and also just making sure that from a young age to an older age, everyone is aware that climate change and global warming, it's not just a national or international issue. It starts from you as an individual. What are you able to do so that you can contribute to making the environment much better?
How about you, Abdul? How did you become a volunteer?
Mine, it's not that like my sisters, but mine, it came through my friend, Daniel Shirima, is the one who started. I've been seeing volunteering for quite a while. Then tukiwa tu mtaani nikaanza kuona the way he assists, and then mimi nilikuwa na do program tofauti. We started bonding through that activity. We volunteered. He was the one who started the as in alikuwa already akona Red Cross, so he's the one who initiated me, like akanionyesha niaje but they iko hivi na hivi, like so tukaanza ku volunteer both of us doing activities as a Red Cross pia wana to involve na program zao. So sisi already tuko na shida ambazo tulikuwa nazo pale chini tunashughulikia individually, so we became part of Red Cross volunteering one by one, and then that's it, as in tukajikuta already tunafanya kazi na Red Cross, and imekuwa very supportive kutatua shida mingi pale mtaani.
When was this?
When COVID-19 actually ilikuja kuhit, as in ilikuja kuwa mbaya zaidi. That was in 2020 March. Yeah. So but already sisi tulikuwa already tunafanya activities volunteering, kuvolunteer na vitu tofauti. So mi yangu ilianza 2020 March. Yeah.
That will be around 2014, 2015. Yes.
It's been quite some time for you.
Yes, it has.
Briefly paint a picture of a normal day of a volunteer.
Okay, for a normal day of a volunteer, it would actually vary depending on what needs to be done on that day. But basically, it's usually showing up when we are needed, when we are called. Of course, we usually get briefed and we are told that on this day, this needs to happen, or we are going to such a community. These are our goals, these are objectives. Are you able to support it? If yes, then you come at the branch, you're given your equipment, you're given the information you need, and then now you get deployed into the field.
Now, Stacey, since we do not have disasters every day, is this a full-time job for you, or is it a part-time job?
Well, in my current capacity, it's not full-time and it's not part-time. I think one thing I would say is I am actually a definition of a career volunteer. Yes, because as much as there may not be any disasters, there are still things in our own individual capacity we're able to do in the community. So for example, in my case, life skills facilitation with youth in the community, being able to link them up with other partners within the organization. So for example, if a youth, oh my God. So for example, if youth come and say that this is an issue that we are facing, how are you able to support us? Seeing that I've been in the system for a while already, I already know the procedures that need to be taken. So I'll be able to advise this person and say, okay, this is what needs to be done. This is the person that you need to approach. This is how you can outline your program or the activity that you want to do, and then get it done.
Well, you know, Abdul, for Stacey, it seems like a full-time job. Is it a full-time job for you?
No, mine is not full-time.
It's part-time.
It's just part-time. And mostly, since vile nimekushow, yangu ilianza na bro wangu mdogo, Shirima. And he was the one, I think, yame volunteer most. Na I think wamekuwa na Stacey pia amecheza part kubwa sana pia kusaidia area za kule kwetu. And yangu most ni hiyo time tumeshikana, we try to volunteer pale ambapo panatakana, kama kuna any activity that ako tayari kumetokea issue yote. So si ufanya nini? Si woga tunasaidiana. Yeah.
Abdul, please paint for us a picture of a normal day as a volunteer.
Mine actually inakuwaga, unajua mostly sasa ile mnaenda kudeal na issues pale mtaani. Kama saa hii time ya COVID. Majority ilikuwa ni about depression, ilikuwa about stress, wase wako na confused, hawajui anzie wapi. Kama unakuta kuna wazazi wadogo kama this young generation of today, kuna wase wengi sana wanaishi life na pressure. So unakuta kasi sisi tulikam tukaanza kuona bedhe, si wenyewe tuko hapo, we got married young, tulikuja kuwa na watoto tukaanza kuwa wadogo. So we know the pressure of life, tunajua vile life inakuwa hard. Sasa hiyo kwanza sasa unaanza life, so tukaona kuna wase hapo down pia wanafanya nini, wanapitia the same issues. So when brother alianza with this idea of KJTV, kuvibe waseo my youth wale wasije kupata maboli na nini, na mimi mwenyewe pia nilikuwa busy the other side kukam na waseo wote wale wako early married. So unakuta tunakaa chini, unakuta kama ni base, kuna Yusuf base tuko nayo. So si ukaa chini unakuta kuna wale waseo ambao lazima uwe always ushan notice fulani yako stressed, ama kuna area fulani wanangori mob zile za waseo kutry kupigana, kuna issues mob na kutoa watu hepa home sababu ya vita home. So unakuta lazima uwe area ambayo uta-assist. Unaona? Pale ambapo unaweza enda kukaa chini, ukaingia home, ukaleta a friendly conversation, umeona? So that hiyo hao at the end of the day, ule mtu anaweza feel safe. Ule madam pale asifeel kwamba akirudi home, lazima afanye nini? Atapigwa. So una try ku create calmness kwa ile hao, and then understanding. Kwa sababu majority of time unakuta zile vita mingi hutokea. Na hiyo time, I think people, kama mtaani kulikuwa na wasi wengi sana hiyo time walikuwa na madana. Kuna mpaka kijana ambaye aliita demu yake hiyo time ya COVID, I think it was Feb, kasi sawa, akamuita kijani. So it was ilienda vibaya sana sababu alimchoma ule dem, and then yeye mwenyewe akafanya nini, majirani sababu alikuwa anakumbiti, so akaamua afadhali pia afanya nini, ajichome. So alipojimwagilia mafuta ikawa hata hawezi fanya nini, hawezi chomeka sababu sasa ile mafuta ni kama ilikuwa mbakia kidogo. So akajichukua kisu, akajident from this side to this side.
Thank you. It's not easy. Now, humanity has been evident, with many requests of people wanting to volunteer. Here's Zipporah Kaburu from the Kenya Red Cross narrating how COVID-19 impacted volunteers' operations.
So what happens when a volunteer enrolls with us, we link them to the nearest branch. They know their communities, they understand, then they can easily implement the activities that we have. Our volunteers have really played a critical role in accelerating sensitization during this COVID-19 pandemic. We received overwhelming requests for people wanting to come in and join in as members and volunteers. And it was quite hard for us from the start because we didn't want to just expose them and we are not understanding how the pandemic works or the disease. So we had to first take volunteers, bits of volunteers from the county as the first responders. So Kenya Red Cross, we have something that we call Red Cross Action Teams. So those were the first to be on the forefront to ensure that they are sensitizing the communities. Another challenge that we faced is, of course, COVID is very deadly. And when we're exposing our volunteers to respond, it means some of them will get infected. So we had a few cases of volunteers who got infected, but through our leadership and our psychosocial support teams, the volunteers were well, and we ensured every day we give them moral support and also their families to just keep them in check that we are in this together.
Stacey.
Yes.
Abdul has been called to volunteer at a murder scene. What's the most memorable experience for you as a volunteer of the Kenya Red Cross Society?
I'd say my very first response, which was the Huruma Collapse building. Yes. So I think I had been in Red Cross for about for a couple of months by then, but it was the first response that was major that I'd participated in, and it had a lot of dynamics that usually we only think about but never get to relate to. So that was the most memorable one for me.
And guys, how do you absorb the shocks of a murder scene? Have you ever suffered from PTSD, Abdul?
Myself, unajua ukigroya ghetto kuna vitu mingi sana unaziona ukiwa mdogo. Kama mtakaa kije tulizoea hiyo time wagondiwa kimado. Hiyo time tulikuwa tunaonaga mada mingi sana. So unakuta kwanza inakupatia lesson kwa sababu everything that happens in life ina happening kwanza kufanya wewe learn something. So unaona kwamba uni mwizi amemadwa. Unajua wewe mwenyewe ukifikiria kuiba lazima utaenda wapi? Hapo hapo. So unakuta hizi ni vitu tukigrow tulianza kuziona kuanzia kitambo. And then unakuta tukiwa watu wazima sasa it's something that unakuta already wewe uko na knowledge ya ku understand kuna mtu kufa natural, kuna mtu kufa with the cause of bullet kama amemadwa, and then kuna kama hiyo sasa ya that msee amejimada na kamada demu yake. So unakuta vitu kama hizi already tushakuwa kama mimi mwenyewe personally nishakuwa mentally prepared.
Ni vitu affect
as Jane ni ile kwamba unakuta zinani affect kwa sababu kesho kutwa ini kitu inaweza happen ya msee mwingine. So I learned something from there so that kesho naweza onesha mtu mwingine ni aje, unajua ni aje bro. Unasema ukikaa chini ukute wewe utainvest na dem ambaye maybe una invest emotions zako kwa dem, and then unakuta dem labda akufeel read signs zake udem akufeel, wacha kuwa hapo so much. So unakuta ina create something that unaweza kaa chini uavoidishe msee mwingine ku do the same thing.
Thank you Abdul, thank you Stacey, thank you so much for gracing us here on Frontline to share your experience as volunteers from the Kenya Red Cross Society. We take a short commercial break, and on the other side we have more exciting testimonials of volunteers from across the country. Again, I'm Lincoln Ombogo and you're watching Frontline. At any emergency incident, they first respond and they listen to you. But do you know what it takes?
My name is Leila Semkiwa. I'm a psychologist by profession. We have an emergency hotline that is handled by our volunteers at Kenya Red Cross Mombasa branch. Somebody calls one person at the call center, and like the things that they are requesting are not food, not emergency, not medical help, and it's just distress, psychosocial support. The case is forwarded to me, and I take the details and I call that person to try and calm them down.
When COVID-19 case started, we started sensitizing at the ferry center, where we used to handle the washing hands. We sensitize people to wash hands. We also help in making the queues so that you can have social distancing, which was very hectic. We had the fear, but we had to do it, maintaining the measures that were being given.
My name is Anthony. I'm a team leader at TRM Response Team, where we are here daily to do screening of COVID. So we wake up early as 4, so that we can reach here 5:30 exactly. The mall begins its operation at 5:30 a.m. and closes its operation to 7:30 p.m. So all together on a busy day we screen over 8,000 people.
My name is Aisha Said Ibrahim. I stay in Kibra. I'm a volunteer with the Kenya Red Cross Society. Yes, I'm also a sign language interpreter. So what we've been doing in Kibra is reaching out to the deaf community in Kibra and basically telling them or training them about Corona, about how it's spread and how they can prevent themselves.
Now joining us is Zipporah Wangari and Christine Omondi, who have their share of experiences as volunteers now. Thank you for creating time. What are some of the milestones by volunteers done that have impacted the society in an amazing way? Perhaps Zipporah, you can go first.
Kwangu, as we started a group, tuliona vijana wanacheza ball, so tukaona sisi tutafanya by mobilizing. Itakuwa poa kwa tukicheza starlet kumobilize wasichana, tuka come together ndo tuweze kuongelesha
through games,
through football team ya Msalaba Starlets. We still tukaona ni poa tukuje pia na team ya self defense kwa wasichana wetu hii wakati mgumu wa COVID-19, wasikuja wakaface many challenges. Tukaweka kwa class ya self defense yenye wanajifundisha karate.
Wow.
As ile yenye tuliona tunaweza fanya kama wasichana without any support from anyone, sisi wenyewe still tukakam na food program yenye tunawapatia tukicombine na sanitary towels.
Red Cross na Kiswahili wanasema ni
Msalaba Mwekundu.
So Msalaba Starlets is a team by Red Cross.
Yeah.
Christine,
Yes.
how about you?
I think I'll just go back to what she said. We did the dignity packs, which largely supported the young mothers who were affected during this season. We did a lot of mentorship as well, through the high number of girls, as we know, got pregnant during this season of COVID and being at home. So we started in the communities programs to just sit some of them down and talk to them. You know, the transition of a young girl suddenly into motherhood, how does that change for you and how does that make you feel, and just support some of them in terms of mental health awareness. We did a lot of food distribution in the areas that we were covering, Kibra, Kawangware, and the other areas that was being supported at this time. So I believe through the Red Cross, these things were able to be achieved. There were a lot of people giving food, there were a lot of people coming to the ground to just make sure that at least every family that we could reach could get the support. Yeah.
You know, for most people, they may think that, you know, for you to volunteer to help people who are in need, You might not be in need, you might not be facing challenges. Are there challenges that you're facing in the field as volunteers?
Challenges ni mob sana.
Unaweza zisema.
Wakikuona kama volunteer, wengine wakubeba mjinga, hakuna kitu unafanya, yani wanaona umepoteza time. But for you, unajua hii volunteer ni kujitolea, inatakanga mwenye amejitolea, mwenye moyo wa kutoa. So for me, challenges ni mob sana, cause mwingine na ukienda kuvolunteer nadhani uko na pesa, ni pesa unaenda kumpatia. In case umeenda kurespond mahali umesikia mtu amerepiwa, unapata challenge after maybe umefuatilia hii kesi, unapata wewe ndio unaonekana wewe ndio mwenye makosa. But as kama volunteer si tubebangi hiyo kitu na ngumu, kwa sababu unajua umetoka nini kuja kujitolea. So challenges ni mob, kuna matusi.
There's so many.
Many of them. Ukianza kutaja ziziisha.
Christy, do you share the same sentiments?
Yes. There's insecurity. You know, of course there's COVID, but there's so many other instances that we've had to respond where my life is at risk. You know, this is not bulletproof. This is not stone-proof. And many times we are faced with community becoming violent. There's also the impression that you work for Red Cross. Red Cross is a big organization. So when we see you, we see money, we see food. And you find that during COVID, it was so hard because we were largely doing also education. So there's sometimes we'd walk in and we have nothing and people say, kama hamna chakula mnatuambia nini?
Christine, in such an instance where the community now becomes violent, what do you do?
Through training, we are taught either negotiation skills and every other steps you need to take during response. And then when the situations become violent and you're no longer safe, what is your exit plan? So that is trained to every volunteer, that you need to know when things are bad, we need to leave, and how do you leave, and also how do you live without letting the society know you're leaving. So there's sign language, there's a lot of things that go around within the teams that they can just call out to each other and live silently, just go.
Something coded.
Yes.
Now, during the pandemic, how different have operations been for volunteers comparing to, before the pandemic?
Okay, before the pandemic ilikuwa poa, because tulikuwa tunaweza kupatana na wasichana wengi, kuongelesha na wamama, wale young mothers. But for now, unajua kuna precautions za kutake juu ya COVID. Size unapata kuna challenge. Unapata wachache ndio unaweza kuongelesha. Kazi zimekosekana, marriage mingi zimevunjika kwa sababu ya hii COVID. So, I think ni mingi sana.
Ni mingi sana.
Sana.
Christy, has it ever been so hard you thought of quitting?
Yes. There are situations that you actually ask yourself, is it worth putting my life on the line? And just for example, COVID, it came as largely reports of death internationally. And you're being asked to go to Mkuru and, support. And you're asking if people are dying and I'm just going with a mask, do I really have to be there?
But what kept you going? You're still a volunteer. What kept you going?
I've been here over 10 years as a volunteer for Red Cross. And I find that this is more of a calling to me than just waking up and going to get a job done. So I always remind myself that if I don't, who will?
If you don't, who will?
Yes.
How about you, Wangari?
Same thing.
Has it ever been so hard you felt like quitting?
Ni hard, but I can't quit because
why can't you quit?
Yangu ni moyo wa kujitolea, nilijituma pale. So niko na ule moyo wa kushindwa. Hii community yangu isipofikiwa na wengine na nisipowajibika, nani atakuja kuwajibika kwa sababu yao? Okay, as for me, nilipata ukiniangalia hivyo sema niko na msichana mkubwa, nilipata mtoto nikiwa mdogo nilipata mtoto. So siwezi taka wale wasichana nisipoenda kuwaongelesha kwa mentorship, siwezi taka wapitie ile situation nilipitia. So kwangu ni moyo, nilijituma.
Wow. Thank you so much, Christine Mondi and Zipporah Wangari, for those narrations. Now, on your COVID-19 facts, take a look at what happens to the body when one contracts COVID-19.
So when someone is diagnosed with COVID-19, a lot of the times the body is able to fight it. But for people who have comorbidities and any other underlying diseases, then it takes some pharmacological, meaning medical intervention in this case, to try and slow down the immune system from over-responding. Because we've learned that the virus, how we are getting fatalities and bad outcomes is by the virus over stimulating the immune system, and then the immune system overreacts and causes damages different organs and different systems in the body. So we give medicine to try and calm down the immune system.
We are now joined by Rachel Maru, a Kenya Red Cross responder and emergency volunteer based in Nakuru. Thank you so much for creating time. What is the situation in Nakuru in terms of disaster management support?
The situation in Nakuru is still prone to incident like we still have road crashes and accidents, and we still have fire accidents, and also we have got gender-based violence still. Also, you find that we still face clashes. Maybe let's take an example in Joro, Olposmori areas, you find that we still having the clashes. I just want to thank E+ because they have been responding so much. Whenever I call the E+, they respond to me very well. Whenever there is an accident, I normally call immediately, they respond and they have been assisting me. Without them, I could have been doing anything.
Rachel, how has COVID-19 impacted your role in addressing different challenges affecting the society?
But for sure, when you talk about COVID-19, we have been having a problem when we were trying to respond along the highway, because I've been responding from Nakuru Eldoret highway. So immediately we were faced by COVID-19. We used to fear. Immediately you have been called by that there is an accident. You fear that, am I going to go there? It is somebody who is suffering from COVID-19. That is the challenge.
If I may ask, what are the challenges as women responders that hinder your role in providing service to humanity?
As for our women, you find that at night, especially at night, I've been facing a problem of insecurity. You have been called at night that you are supposed to respond about accident, and you find that it is at night, and there is this what we call curfew. Tracing for a motorbike to come and take you, it is a challenge.
Have you been able to advocate the need for female inclusion and leadership in emergency response?
Yeah, for an example, I got my leadership through volunteering with Kenya Red Cross. I've been doing so many work until our governor recognized my work. That is the time he nominated me as an nominated MCA. And I really thank Kenya Red Cross, because if they are not the one, I could have gone that far.
Thank you so much, Rachel Maru. It's a wrap on the show. My name is Lincoln Obogo, and as always, stay safe and see you next week on Frontline. We leave you with Lalchand Paland, the Nairobi County Red Cross officer.
Sincere thanks actually to the volunteers who come out day in, day out, 5 o'clock in the morning for this exercise. They bring along this wonderful energy, which I hope they keep on doing. To all the staff of the branch who work very hard in getting the venues, the security and everything organized before every distribution. And to everyone else in generally, my sincere thanks, and we hope we carry on doing this great work we do.